Ready when you are, CB. Do I start in Canada or Mexico?
We didn't do Animal
Are
Kingdom.
we really AK haters?
From New York, Dillos Diz Live, starring Frank and Jen Dillo. This is Mr. Snidillo in studio along with music by Matt Harvey, inviting you to join the Dillos and their guests while they tangent and wax nostalgic. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's Frank and Jen.
Well, good evening. Hey, howdy, hey, and hi on the Dillos Diz YouTube channel, the Facebooks, and the X. She is Jen.
Hello. Sorry, I had realized I did not check my mic before this and was going in and it was switching and I was like, keep saying go slower.
Catch that intro. Well, we're here on a Tuesday evening. The plan is to record Theme Park Thursday for this Thursday, May the 2nd. And I would say we're trying to figure out here. We'll talk a little bit about hashtag Dillos Madness as it continues into its third record-breaking month starting tomorrow.
Hashtag May Madness.
Because generally when we do a chat episode of the podcast, such as the ones we've been doing here the last couple of weeks, we do that at DillosDizResort.com. DillosDizResort.com, of course, is our Patreon with memberships beginning as low as $1 per month. DillosDizResort.com. Since we launched Dillos Madness, hashtag Dillos Madness, this year, we've been trying to do a campaign of, to join for free just to get in on the resort at the very least, participate in Dillos Madness. So at some point we have to kind of transition back, figuring out how we can still stream here on occasion while recording our chat episodes, which we typically do for paying resort guests only over at the resort. When we have guests, we typically will do it in one of many different formats.
Mm-hmm.
All that to say, we're going to record for about an hour.
So to sum up, we'll be here for an hour and we hope you will be too.
Tomorrow, May the 1st, is hashtag always MGM. And if you don't know, if you're just checking us out on the Twitters or the X's and the Facebooks, we call Disney's Hollywood Studios hashtag always MGM, with merch available at our TeePublic store. And tomorrow is the 35th anniversary of Disney's Hollywood Studios.
It's fine. It's not that old. It's fine. Everything's fine.
Everything is just fine.
I told Mama and Papa Dillo because they were asking if we would be live tonight. I told Papa Dillo how it's MGM's birthday. He's like, "Wow, you're older than MGM." Yeah, I am. Yeah. Just try.
It's fine.
Fine.
I mean, I think you're like 7.5 years older.
Exactly.
I'm 7.5 years older than you.
That's right.
And you are 7.5 years older than hashtag.
That's true. That's true. Facts.
So good evening to everyone here in the chat. We'll get the ball rolling on the recording in a couple of moments here as we do a little tune up here. There's a lot of news to report on, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And life events are happening this week. So I've been between life events, and so I feel very like this.
Everything's fine. It's all happening.
I'm just going. Keep going.
Yes.
So hashtag always MGM's 35th. How we will work our way into that remains to be seen. I would say for those of you already in the chat, if you're thinking about questions you want to ask Jen and I about our time, our life at hashtag always MGM over the years, I would say that would be a lovely way to go.
Yes.
an organic way to go, so to speak. We typically do things on the organic, on the improv fly. So that's where we are. Jen, am I missing anything else before I go to the 20-second intro as the way to reboot into the recording?
No, I like the idea of those in the chat to post your questions so that maybe we can answer some. I do see some are worrying in the chat, and those are from our resort guests because sometimes when we go to make an announcement, they get worried now. We have worried them before; they get worried now. There's, it's all good. It's all good, everybody. So
Everything is
no worries.
fine.
Yes. But yeah, no, I'm ready to talk about hashtag always MGM and the tangents that we'll take in order to get there.
Jeffers, I appreciate the Islanders score update.
Yeah.
And as the Islanders are down 3-1 in the series, trying to hang on for dear life, only to get pummeled by the Rangers should they miraculously make it to the second round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
I don't know which one I want, really. Don't know.
Yeah.
How it goes. This is how it goes. So we'll fire up the 20-second intro here and break into a little Theme Park Thursday recording. And here we go.
Ready when you are, CB. Do I start in Canada or Mexico?
It's me and Animal Kingdom.
We really AK haters?
This is Theme Park Thursday with Dillos Diz. She is Jen.
Hello.
And I am Frank. We are recording on the YouTube and the Facebook and the X Twitter and the whole thing as we bring another chat episode here on Tuesday night of the recording, April the 30th, the end of April, everyone. We're 1/3 through the year of 2024.
Well, as we record this, you know what tomorrow is? It's gonna be May. Come on.
Oh.
Come on.
I wasn't ready for it.
God, come on.
So yesterday, it was May.
Correct.
If you're listening to the audio, that was
Correct.
yesterday.
It was May.
It happened to be May. We're off and running. We're bookending here with our live stream and our audio drop in between May the 1st, which is the 35th anniversary of hashtag always MGM. To the layman's, you may know that as Disney's Hollywood Studios.
Some call it that.
Some call it that. We call it MGM.
Always.
Always, forever, near or far.
Forever?
Forever. So for the
near
next
or far.
hour, we're gonna
Together
talk.
everywhere. I will be with you.
Thank you for getting on finally about that 90s one-hit wonder. I appreciate it. That's where I was
Say
going.
I love me forever, never stop, never, whatever.
You've got. Anyway. Off and running here on the podcast. We got about an hour's worth of hashtag always MGM talk to be had. Those here live in the chat are welcome to drop their questions about our experiences at hashtag always MGM / Disney's Hollywood Studios over the years. And if some of you don't know, I was a cast member there from 1995 to 1999, and happy to answer from that angle as well. So we got the kids angle, we got the cast member angle, and we got the adult angle of our time spent at hashtag always MGM. So we have a few other things to address here on the podcast before we get to the MGM talk. We start with breaking news.
Oh. Again, we need the music. We need a drum roll. We need something.
I know. It sounds like Dillo Studios is going to need something.
I know. I think I mentioned that last week as we were listening to Jeffers' episode, our previous episode with Jeffers and his trip report. We were listening to that recently, and I was like, "Oh, by the way, we're going to need like a breaking news thing." Thanks.
So here on the eve, as we record of hashtag always MGM's 35th anniversary, or if you're listening to the audio the day after hashtag always MGM's 35th anniversary, I am here to announce that for the first time ever, my family here in Queens, New York,
Yes.
we will be traveling in the near future for our first ever Universal only trip.
Amazing.
Ba,
Crazy.
ba, ba.
It's crazy, amazing. I don't know. It's all the things. How are you feeling about it? Like, let's wait. Let me rephrase the question.
Yes.
Let's remove the 8-year-old's love of Harry Potter. Let's remove that. How are you personally feeling about taking a Universal non-Disney trip?
Okay, so since you've removed that very important, crucial element,
It's just a minor detail.
The only reason why this would ever come, that's not fair. That's not fair to Universal. But there is a reason why that this is the first ever Universal only trip. No Disney involvement whatsoever. We're not even going to SeaWorld. And we're shrugging quietly for you in the audio. And, the 7 books have been read. The 8 movies have been watched.
Yeah.
The Broadway show has been seen. That has been a 18-month journey since the summer of 2022. When we needed to strike while the iron was hot in experiencing the wizarding world of Harry Potter.
Yes.
There was no other way around it. Is it fiscally responsible?
Whatever.
I don't know. But we will be there for a set period of time. We will be staying in a Universal resort. My first time ever in a Universal resort.
Yeah.
I'm not giving away all the details yet.
No. You don't want to be doxxed.
I don't want to. Yeah. I don't want to. You said this last week to Jeffers. I don't know what doxing.
You don't want that. Jeez.
No.
You're so old. Listen, doxing is the thing on the internet. Now, typically it is used for evil and it is used in a bigger way where it's like, oh, this person said something I don't agree with on the internet. You want to know where they live? Here's their address. Here's all the things. So it's like, doxing them like that.
Oh.
However, I think also sometimes if you reveal your plans, you could also be doxxed because now people can follow you, all the things. But that's what doxing is. Yeah. I can't believe you don't know. You're on the talk. How do you don't hear doxing on the talk?
I haven't been on the talk lately, but I might have a bit of breaking news at the end of the episode to talk about why I might have to be on the talk a little bit more.
Oh, interesting.
Coming up. So it's a little. I haven't even discussed it with you. A little bit of a tease here for the end of the podcast.
Interesting, huh?
So stay tuned for that. So yeah. What was the question?
Aside from everything you just said, how are you feeling about being in Orlando for a non-Disney, which questions have come in, whether you'll make a quick stop at the Poly, for a non-Disney Universal only trip?
I will address that. I am not sure I will rent a car to keep myself from going near it. I can't go on an Uber by myself. I know I'm not convincing anyone else to go with me. I mean, I might be able to convince 8-year-olds, but regardless. So the closest I've ever come to this, 2 years ago for Justin Monorail's 40th birthday, went to Halloween Horror Nights. At Halloween Horror Nights, was like, I gotta go to Disney tomorrow. I can't. I was having a great time at Halloween Horror Nights. Yeah. It exceeded my expectations, not from the company, but from the experience because I don't like horror. Yeah. So I was delighted by my experience at Halloween Horror Nights. But still, while in line for one of the houses, I was like, let me just make a reservation with a 1-day pass for hashtag always MGM tomorrow and tell Adam and Maz about it. Natalie that I'll be there tomorrow. And then I'll get them seats at the Frozen Ever After show.
Oh, I'm so important. Look at me with my connections.
What was the question? So I will say that my curiosity is piqued. I will say that. Like, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
This is it. I have a solely Universal trip planned.
Yeah.
my curiosity is piqued for a couple of reasons. One, because I haven't done it before.
Mm-hmm.
Two, and because the 8-year-old is still not tall enough to go on Velocicoaster or the Hulk.
Thank
So
God. I don't need to worry about her while you're there. Goodness.
and she's gonna be bummed when she sees it.
I
She's gonna be
know.
like,
Yeah.
what?
Mm-hmm.
Because she's right at that 48-inch mark.
Yeah.
So she's not at the 51, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So there's at least if there's the full enjoyment,
Yeah.
there is the
Yep.
we could do it again because
Right.
there'll be more to do.
Right.
We're not going to, I don't think we plan to go to the water park or anything like that unless it's part of the thing we did.
Right.
I haven't looked at all the details. Like I said, this is solely Mrs. Dillo kind of did the plan, which she doesn't usually do for the theme parks, but she's like, it's not Disney. I'm
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
And also I have to make sure there is no Disney involved because it's a Universal trip. Yeah.
So that was 2, right? Was that the
Oh,
featured in
hold
Reed,
on.
your Epic
Hold
Universe?
on. Hold on. Are you back? Oh, now you're you're a little glitchy. You're a little glitchy.
How am I now?
And I think you're back. All right. So when you said, okay, so that's 1, that's all we heard.
Didn't I do number 2?
I don't know.
So 1, you marking the time
Yeah.
for the audio? So 1, because it's the first time ever full Universal trip. 2, because she's not tall enough to ride the rides.
Right. Yes.
There's more to do in the future. So there's opportunity to return for a Universal only experience.
Yes.
3, it is pre Epic Universe and the other things we're about to talk about here. And so there's definitely more to do beyond just, what rides are you not tall enough to ride right now? So it's got levels, which I like.
Yeah.
And I'm impressed to see I'm impressed. I want to be impressed.
Yeah.
I want to see the resort experience. I want to do all the things.
Yeah.
I consulted with Steffers. If anyone's wondering, there was a Steffers consultation throughout the process.
Yeah.
She's very excited for me.
Yes.
So to be doing the Universal only for the first time.
Yeah.
So my curiosity is piqued, and I'm definitely going tunnel vision about it, knowing that I have 2 possible Disney trips behind it.
Right.
That helps.
It helps that this is not the only Orlando trip this year.
So breaking news there, Universal trip upcoming.
Yeah.
But to say, yesterday, as we're recording this on April 29th, there were the announcements that came from Universal Orlando. Yeah. They announced a reimagination, I guess, of their sensational nighttime experience. They announced a mega movie parade. They announced the opening of the date for the DreamWorks area.
Yep.
I'm not going to be there for that.
It's a clue.
So close.
But so still, the potential, it just continues.
There's still more.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I've reached out to a few people like, are you going to soft open? Or is it going to be
Will there be previews? Or
you going to try it out?
Mm-hmm.
Period?
Yeah.
So that's all exciting. Obviously, with the sensational show and with the parade, especially the parade, leaning heavily into the nostalgia.
Yes.
And I think on today, Theme Park Thursday, May the 2nd, another reveal of an Epic Universe land is about to happen. So everyone is guessing what that will be, or if you're listening to the audio after the fact, you've already known what it is. But that's the breaking news from my home here. A trip to Universal only. There's 45 comments I see highlighted there. I haven't read any of them.
It's very exciting. I mean, the general consensus is you're going to Orlando and not going to Disney. That's the general consensus, but it's very exciting. So,
all right, yeah. I mean, the time, the amount of time that we were going for, it all fits for the occasion.
Yeah, very nice.
and gives us the right amount of time, I think, to spend in the wizarding world. Also.
Yeah.
So, which is the primary goal.
It'll be very exciting. Do you think you'll cry?
I don't know if I'll cry. It depends.
I mean,
It depends what happens.
Depends on the
We'll see
look
how-
on her face.
Right.
I'll
Yeah.
cry if I see a picture.
Well, even today, she's like, I heard that you can buy one and it works in the area. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's gonna be
Yeah,
something
she's gonna need one of
cool.
those. Come on.
So that's all happening. Jen was in the theme park last week. She was in Legoland.
I sure was for the third time.
In
Listen, we're
upstate New
considering those
York.
annual passes. I'm not gonna lie.
Are you at that point? Do you feel here at the third time that you're considering it?
Yeah, because just for the pricing of it all, like it kind of, I feel like 3 days, you're good. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like on the third day, it's pretty much free. Third to fourth day, depending on what
Okay.
pass you get.
So we've talked about Legoland in the past. I think
Yeah.
there's a couple of things you probably can add to here in the
Yeah.
conversation. But just on we always, whenever we judge any annual pass,
Yeah.
we kind of go like, am I gonna get, how many days can I get there in, and am I going to be able to do the things to get my money's worth?
Yes.
So do you think by buying the annual pass, you guarantee like I will schedule the days I'm gonna go? Or
Yeah.
like we're gonna plot it out so we see,
Yeah.
or do you think you can buy the annual passes and go, all right, let's see what happens?
Yeah, so I think a few things, because the one thing I have many ideas for Legoland. I'm seriously going to write them a letter because I have so many ideas for them that I'm like, you need to be doing more. One of the things though is, it's not open year round. And so the annual pass is basically good for within the actual year, like the like 2024. It's not going to be good for April 2025 if I were to
Right.
get it right now or something
Right.
or whatever. So it's only within this. But the perks that come with it, like you would, first of all, there's like a sale going on for the annual passes right now.
Mhm.
So the lowest price point is like $99 per person.
Right.
The next one up is like a 120, 130 or something, and you get more perks with that. But you get hotel discounts, which at this point we're probably only doing one more time this year for the 10-year-old who wanted to go to Legoland Orlando, which we had been discussing, which was
Right.
going to be very difficult for us to go to Legoland Orlando and do something else that wasn't. But after this trip, he's like,
Thinking of
I
doing
think I
something
want to.
other than Disney.
Yeah, I think I want to come back here. So we might do that.
Right.
But discount on, merch and food. But you also get free parking. And that parking is like, I don't even know, $25-$30 or something to
At
park.
Legoland, the parking is
Yeah,
that much.
yeah. Now, if you stay in the hotel, that's included. So like we had stayed in
Right.
the hotel, so we didn't pay for it. But I'm like, but if we come up for the day, which our very first trip there was just a day trip,
Yeah.
like if we just came up for the day, which is what we would do if we had that, it's like, oh, well, the parking alone, that's worth it. And then I
Right.
really think after like 3 times, it would be worth it. They do stuff around Halloween. They do stuff around the holidays. It's like, even if I only went one summer, Halloween and Christmas or something, I feel
Right.
like it's, pays for itself. But then just being able to have it would be like, hey, like next Wednesday, let's drive up for the day or whatever,
Yeah.
because it's an easy drive too, for us. So
What are the current wait times for the attractions that Legoland has?
So, I mean, it was spring break around here, and we were in the park on Friday. I think Mr. Snidillo and the 7-year-old had gone back to one of the rides at one point and must have hit it at its peak because I think they waited 15 or 20 minutes. But not to say that over the summer, it's probably more crowded and a little crazier, and they're just starting to open again, just starting to get back into it. The water park portion, I mean, it's, like this, but that portion isn't open yet, so I'm sure the wait times can get higher, but for the most part, if you're waiting 5 minutes, it's typically a lot. Now, they only have like 2, well, I shouldn't say that. They have 2 like bigger attractions that are more theme park-esque on the, what are the things? What are the Mickey and Minnie type cars called? What are those things called?
I
What
know
is
what
that
you're saying. I
track?
can't think of it right now. Right.
Whatever that track is called. Yeah. So they
The
have like,
motion, the ride, the track list, the
yeah,
ride, whatever. You know what I
they
mean?
got
Yeah.
two of those, right?
Yeah.
So there's two of those, which are like their favorites, the 9 and the 5-year-old, 7-year-old, well, 5-year-old, going back in time. The 9 and the 7-year-olds like favorites. There is a roller coaster, there's a mini roller coaster, and then there's like, but those are the two like theme park type rides. So the other stuff, is geared towards younger kids, I would say. Not that they don't like it and that they don't still do it, but you know, we really try hard not to compare it to Disney. It's not Disney. So there's, not a ton of the grown-up involvement on a
Right.
lot of things. But there me and Mr. Snidillo could for sure nitpick the resort and the theme park.
Mhm.
They are obsessed with it and love it
Mhm.
and have a lot of joy. So therefore, it is fantastic.
It is really.
Um, yeah, and they oh, I was just gonna say something now. The thought totally flew out of my head. Um, however, I will say, Dillo DNA in these children, especially that 9-year-old, that Dillo DNA is so strong. Everything, because we stayed for the first time last June, was the first time we stayed over at the hotel.
Mhm.
We have to do this now. We got to make sure we do this. We got like trying to recreate exactly what happened last year. We're like, we have all day, we have all night, we have plenty of time to do all the things. Took some convincing, but yeah, and it was really funny too because the food is what it is, and breakfast is normally included with the hotel as well. But dinner, it's a little pricey for the offerings. And so as we were leaving, me and Mr. Snidilla were like, we could probably find like a restaurant around here if we came up again for an overnight, like to have dinner.
Right.
So, hey guys, next time we come up, should we find like a nice restaurant around here? No. What? No, we have to eat here in this restaurant. That's why we're here. We have to eat here. Right. No, I got it. Right. Okay. Got it. Yes.
What have we done? What have we done?
Yes, for sure.
Just a comment, Lewis in the chat mentioning one that a New Yorker saying $25 for parking is, listen, if you go north of the bridge formerly known as the Tappan Zee, well, it's not actually, they tore down the Tappan Zee and built the new bridge, but if you go north of that bridge, parking should not be $25.
No, not at all.
Am I paying a toll to get to your the theme park, amusement park, whatever you want to call it?
Mm-hmm.
No, $25.
Yep.
Come on.
Yep.
So that was one thing I wanted to add there. But
it's 35. It's 35. Sorry, 35.
Legoland is $35.
I just Googled it. I couldn't remember.
Give you the Kevin McAllister face. $35 for parking.
Yeah. It's no City Field for 40, but it's getting close.
But that's exactly the point where, all right, you're in Queens.
Yep.
I mean, in 2008, you paid $30 for a parking garage at Yankee Stadium. So, that's 2008.
Yeah.
So,
yes,
City Field, $40. $35 for Legoland.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not here to. I mean, I understand they got to run a business, but.
Right.
Whew.
To answer Jeffers' question, 20 minutes, no lightning lane. I do believe there is some sort of pass you can do for to access rides faster. I may have seen one person use it.
If you were to get a and Lewis referencing it as is a season pass, an annual pass, doesn't matter. It's pass. Whatever pass you're gonna get.
Yeah.
But would you say that would squash any hope of you going to Rye Playland?
I mean, I don't know that was on the agenda anyway until someone actually says Rye Playland. Then I go, oh, we should do that one day. But otherwise, I don't think about it often enough. So maybe.
I'm happy to go to Rye Playland again. I enjoyed it last year, which is, for those of you who don't know, an amusement park a little north of the city,
Mhm.
with a couple of classic coasters. If you've seen Big, you've seen the boardwalk where the Zoltan machine was. If you've seen the Mariah Carey video, you've seen the Fantasy. Is it Fantasy where she's on the dragon roller coaster?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
yeah, Rye Playland.
Yeah.
And still with classic 1920 landmark amusement park rides, and it's cool for the historical aspect,
Yes.
and reasonably affordable. But it has, the 8-year-old's favorite thing was it's not a log flume, it's the
Yes, it
bigger
is.
raft thing where the splash is monstrous, and then you stand on the bridge after, and then you just get destroyed by the water.
Mhm.
That was her favorite thing. I don't know how I'm going to convince her, like, she's gonna be, I know by midsummer she's gonna be like, when are we going
Yeah.
when are we
Yeah.
going there?
Yeah.
And I'm like, listen, you went on Dudley Do Rights, and you went on Popeye's Bilge Rat barges, and
And
she'd be like, and
yeah.
Jurassic Park River Adventure, you listen.
Yeah. So when are we going?
Yeah. So would you say your enjoyment, your personal enjoyment of Legoland has increased over these 3 times, or is it even?
I think it's even because I think me and Mr. Snidillo just see the potential, and if Legoland could hire us, we could just really make them so much more money. We see so much potential with it. There are very cool things there, but the kids absolutely love it. So,
Yeah.
experiencing
that.
that is, um, I think we've stayed pretty even keel with it though.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
And new version, and I feel like they
Mhm.
really used the same company that Disney used for the Skyliner to
Yeah.
implement their new system that's forthcoming. It looks exactly the same.
And it really does, especially the wraparound pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really funny when I, saw it from my hotel room and, was like, "Oh, it's not moving. See?" And then I was like, "I should really check if this is actually operating yet." I don't even know, and it's not. But yeah, they were doing a lot of construction and working on it, and, mm, uh, it doesn't take you very far. It's because Legoland is built on an incline of the mountain. It's
Mhm.
basically taking you from the top to the bottom. So it's a shorter journey that you're on this Skyliner, but mm, you know,
Yeah, Legoland, you still don't approve of it, even in Legoland.
I mean, if I don't approve of it in Disney, what am I going to approve of it somewhere else? I don't know.
I don't know, maybe like, well, it's good for Legoland, but not for Disney. Jeffers is saying here in the chat, $35 is the new $20. I mean, maybe in Canada. I don't
Yeah.
Canadian money. I don't know what the currency transition is. I saw Ryan in the chat earlier mention how long until the Dillos get into the hashtag always MGM talk. Listen, just because it says 32 minutes on the timer here in the
Yeah.
corner, if you're watching on the live stream, we did start 6 minutes late.
Right. It's only like 20 minutes into the podcast, so we got plenty of time.
So as we get into the hashtag always MGM talk, we should take this time to mention that many of our stories from hashtag MGM are included in hashtag Dillos Madness. Brackets have been submitted. Brackets closed officially on April the 29th. We are now in the submission process. We will record separately results over at dillosdizresort.com. That is the plan starting next week. Like I said, Frank's got to get past like a life event here and let
A good life event, everyone. A good life event.
It's a good life event. It's nothing. And I feel like maybe people are like, because I'm on a good camera today that like maybe something's wrong with me. I don't know. But
Yeah.
but no, there's something going on this weekend. I gotta get past that to return to hashtag Dillos Madness. But we will record the updates for Dillos Madness at dillosdizresort.com. Like we said, that's our Patreon. Memberships are getting as low as $1 per month, but you can still follow along with hashtag Dillos Madness. You can still, if you didn't join for free by going to dillosdizresort.com yet, you can see the bracket, you can watch all the videos, you can hear all the stories. And then as we go through the results, we will share with everyone at that recording how we are breaking things down this year, because I finally told Jen today and she said, okay, sounds good.
Yeah. Like, yeah. Did I fully understand? Not really, but I was like, this sounds okay. I don't know.
But don't worry, everyone's bracket will be involved, those of you who've
Yes.
submitted, and then we'll declare a winner when it's all said and done in August of 2024. No, hopefully
Right
by
before the meetup in September.
the three. Yeah, perhaps we'll just award at the meetup the winner.
I think we said that last year. We can't say that again.
I didn't say that publicly last year. I said it to you, and then you said it publicly. It's never got there. So that's what's going on at hashtag Dillos Madness. Join for free at DillosDizResort.com. Here we are. Hashtag always MGM. May the 1st, 35th anniversary. Disney MGM Studios, now Disney's Hollywood Studios. We know the story. It was going to be like a movie ride thing talked about for Epcot. Eisner was like, let's do a whole theme park. And boom, by the end of the 80s, Disney had beaten Universal to the punch by getting Disney MGM Studios out before Universal Studios. To us, this is kind of like a landmark. We said this about the all-new Mickey Mouse Club's the 35th anniversary last week on our bonus. It is kind of like the turning point of how like Disney kids turned into Disney adults, even though Jen was like 8 at the time. For me, teenager, all I did was go to Disney or go to the movies or play baseball, and they couldn't get baseball into the parks. So, the best thing they could do was take the movies and put them into a theme park. And, it hit at the right time. I was 15 going on 16. You get an Indiana Jones stunt show. You introduce a Star Wars simulator. You get the Muppets into the theme park. And that's my whole childhood, everyone. And we just went on and became an adult. And that's what happened. And somehow 6 years after the park opened, I became a cast member, even though I became a cast member 29 years ago. There's your 35 years right there. How did this happen? Jen, you often say here at Theme Park Thursday with Dillos Diz that Epcot is your park.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I'm gonna say something right here.
Oh, okay.
Without the introduction, now last week, before I ask the question, before I make the statement, last week we celebrated another anniversary, which of course was the 60th anniversary of the New York World's Fair,
right,
and the 26th anniversary of Disney's Animal Kingdom.
Oh, yes.
The statement I'm about to make is, without the introduction of hashtag always MGM, the popularity levels of Magic Kingdom and Epcot do not soar the way they do because of people like me who were able to become Disney adults because they were teenagers in the late 80s visiting these parks. Thoughts?
I think that's a hot take. That's what the kids call a hot take. I mean, here's the thing. Not everyone's Disney history is our Disney history. So, sure, there's a lot of us out there that grew up with the parks, but there's a lot of people that were just introduced to the parks later in life or didn't start going until they were adults or didn't start going until they had kids. So I don't know that that's true, but also it's very hard to envision a world where in 2024 there would only be Magic Kingdom and Epcot. So that's like Disney, I don't think would ever have not grown. So it's very difficult to try to like, oh, if it was just these two parks. I mean, probably if it was just the two parks and they never grew anything, yeah, I'd probably get a little stale and people aren't as into Disney, but they would have had to have grown. And again, I think there are many different types of Disney fans and Disney adults and Disney families at this point that I think I don't know that I could say I agree with your statement.
Fine. Jeffers is here. It was something that I was like, what could I say tonight that might be different? And I I'll elaborate in a second. Jeffers is here saying that yes, we will blame me for the concept of Disney adults these days.
Yeah.
That's right. We blame Generation X
That's
for for Disney adults.
Uh-huh.
I think that's kind of true. But
Mm.
I mean and that's the thing. I think what was not known
Mm-hmm.
pre Gen X,
Mm-hmm.
from the baby boomer generation. Again, as we talked about with the New York World's Fair episode, Jen is always worried about what road I'm going down when I talk about generations.
No, I'm actually disagreeing a little bit so far, so I'm
You're
just hearing
disagreeing
you
with
out.
So I think, kids in Gen X and early millennials did not know.
Elder millennials.
Is that it's not early millennials?
No, it's elder millennials.
Whatever. Old. Didn't know that their parents were into, like us. Well, we didn't
Uh-huh.
know that our parents were into it the way. I think there's a lot of kids out there that did not know that their parents were into it the way they were into it.
Uh-huh.
And then we have played it. I think without that middle section we're talking about here in the 50 to 60 year history we're covering.
Uh-huh.
I think there is a seminal event. Hey, I finally said the word I was looking for after 2 weeks. Seminal event here in 1989. And I'm not just talking about Taylor Swift's birth.
Uh-huh.
I'm talking about
Or her album.
Or the album for that matter. I'm talking about how this was a pivotal point for Disney parks in general,
Mhm.
because I don't know how without that kind of fallback, so to speak,
Uh-huh.
you get a Disney Renaissance right on the heels. Like literally, it starts 6 months after #AlwaysMGM opens.
Mhm.
And so you have the biggest movie in The Little Mermaid open, a few months later, right? 6 months later,
Mhm.
89 or 90? Is it 90? Now I'm
89?
worried about myself here. 89,
I think
right?
so.
And then you have and then you have like, oh, we can connect the studios to these movies that are hitting. Oh, we
Mhm.
can have a Voyage of the Little Mermaid show. Oh, we can have a Beauty and the Beast stage show. Oh, we
Mhm.
can have an Aladdin parade. Suddenly you're doing the synergy thing
Mhm.
because you have this outlet in the idea of a studios, which Disneyland did not have at the time.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
So I also say it in that respect. Oh, hey there, John. Nice to see you here.
I agree with the #AlwaysMGM portion of that statement. Where I was teetering and going back to the previous conversation we had a couple of episodes ago is that no, we didn't realize like how much of an effect the World's Fair had on Mama and Papa Dillo and people of their generation. However, we as adults have been able to see that connection and make it and been like, huh, this is probably why. And the only reason I'm like hesitating to say that perhaps, as we said, Mom and Papa Dillo are the true OG Disney adults
Right.
because and so I don't know that I could blame Gen X for that because I think that the baby boomers were kids or teenagers or whatever as Disneyland is opening, as all these things are happening, that they kind of were the first generation to grow up with all these Disney things and seeing that on TV and and the theme parks are opening and all this stuff is happening, that then they started taking their kids and their families and started getting into it too, which then bred more of us and more Disney adults. So I don't know that I 100% agree that Gen X could be blamed for the Disney adults because Mama Papadillo also, and I know they're kind of rare, but they're also not, that still will go to Disney by themselves, so and have for years. As
Yeah.
soon as we were out of the house, they went for
Yeah.
years by themselves. So,
You're answering it
yeah.
as soon as Lewis drops it in the
Uh,
comments.
uh-huh.
Did they go before you? They didn't go before us, but they
Right.
certainly went after us.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think like I mean, I moved down when I moved out, I moved down there. So they would come visit, of course, but then they would take their own trips. So I mean, for the last 20 years or so, they've been taking solo trips. Most often, all of us have done 2 trips to date. So they have been on their own pretty much for most of those trips. So yeah. I don't know.
Ryan is in the chat mentioning the creation of Disney Channel in 1983 contributed to it, and definitely that's a part of it.
Yeah.
When we've had Chase from the MMC on, I think there is almost like Lewis is saying, we didn't have the internet, so we didn't know who was going where and when and why.
Yeah.
We didn't know who had the Disney Channel, who didn't have the Disney Channel, who had that greater cable package or not. So there's also that kind of element. So I think similarly to what Ryan is saying with the Disney Channel is a little bit of what we can say here. I'm saying it, and obviously I'm being a little facetious about it, but and because of how it impacted me. But I do think there is something to be said about that park opening, as much as people don't see it as, some people see it as a fourth park, some see it as their favorite. Like, it's all different, but definitely it's not at Magic Kingdom level.
Yeah.
And probably for a while it wasn't at Epcot level. It probably dipped again. And I mean, we're not talking about how many people are attending, we're talking about popularity of the attractions. But with Epcot's construction lately, I could see where Hollywood Studios probably had a little bit of neck and neck with Epcot.
Yeah.
But I do think because of what people were into, again, what were we doing? Well, we were playing sports or watching movies and cable television. I don't know what anybody else was doing. It just seemed like the right thing at the right time.
Oh yeah.
And helped support what was coming, which was the Disney Renaissance.
Yeah. And I agree with that. And I think that MGM was huge for Disney and huge for the theme parks. And we have said many times, was just cool. It was just cool that it was a real working studio that you could see. I think I shared our friend Skipper Bob had reposted a TikTok recently, and I think I shared it in the Discord of an animator standing in what we refer to as the Star Wars museum, the launch bay, to be like, here, this was this desk, and all that. I'm like, I don't think I've ever thought of that while standing in there. Like, oh my God, that's right. This is where all of that was.
Yeah.
So that's super interesting. But it was always just cool to know that so much was going on there. I missed Lewis's question.
Yeah, not as Lewis's question is, did we immediately love it? And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah, there were as little, I mean, and again, considering the time period, how things were different then. So Magic Kingdom had a lot of attractions. Epcot had its attractions that you felt like we could repeat most of Epcot attractions in a night. You could go after the 3:00 parade. What time is that? And have dinner at Stargate, and then hit Horizons, World of Motion, Journey into Imagination, Spaceship Earth, and boom, you're out.
Yeah.
Which is, we always left out for. I think back then, Listen to the Land, Living with the Land, however it was classified during our early trips, had a greater weight usually, which is why we do not have the nostalgia that we do for those other 4 attractions.
Yeah.
And if we did those 4 attractions, we were out. So similarly to MGM, great movie ride, backstage tour, Star Tours, Muppets eventually, like, it was, we weren't going there like we have to hit a dozen attractions.
Yeah.
And that it was, we were cool with the 4 or 5 things that were being offered. That was always kind of our thing. Even in the Magic Kingdom, Space Mountain, Thunder Mountain, sure, but It's a Small World. Peter Pan didn't have a queue back then. People Mover. I mean, there was more attractions, but those attractions aren't at the, we didn't do Haunted Mansion back then. We didn't do, there were some things we didn't do back then.
Yeah.
So we did immediately love the studios. We loved the replication of 1940s Hollywood. And the handprints at the front of the theater, and the movie ride. Obviously, the movie ride in those early days was fantastic.
Yes. the parades that would come, the cavalcades, the early cavalcades
Yeah.
with the stars that would come
Mhm.
for whatever celebrity was in town. I had scrolled up a bit because I remember that Val and Ryan had asked questions earlier when we first opened it up. So if you're just
And then
tuning in,
32 minutes later.
yeah, if you're just tuning in, feel free to leave your questions for us about hashtag always MGM, whether from a kid perspective of kids growing up that loved it, or a cast member perspective from Frank. Also, Mama and Papa Dillo, if you're watching, feel free to message me with your memories or anything. But the first question Val had was, what was your favorite attraction that has been retired from hashtag always MGM? Now, I think movie ride, right? So
Yeah.
that's the obvious. But I will say, the backstage studio tour was super cool to me, even though I think after some time we would then go, we just want to go on the ride and not the walkthrough portion. But I think
Mhm.
overall, because that's where you saw all the working studio stuff. You saw the backlot, and we saw the Golden Girls house and Empty Nest and
Mhm.
Adventures in Wonderland and all of these things. And then we could go and we could see costumers and animators working on
Mhm.
things, and we could see the set of the all new Mickey Mouse Club. It was like,
Right.
this is the best thing ever. So for us who were big TV kids, having all of that was so cool. So I will say that, that's high on the list. Obviously, great movie ride for us, but what else would you say
Yeah,
besides?
if you took movie ride
Yeah.
out of it,
Mhm.
I think what I will say, one of the things that I was, and this is random, right? Because we joke often about the mid 2000s,
Yeah.
but really that whole period of like 2000 to 2010, like I know I wasn't there as much.
Mhm.
Like of all the decades that I wasn't in the parks, I was in the parks the least during
Yeah.
that decade.
Mhm.
And and well, I would love to measure that of when I had a child, but
Yeah.
let's see how it really measures up. But to me, it feels more empty. Like I wasn't there during that time.
Mhm.
So the first thing that jumps out to me is I was such a huge fan of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire
Mm. Mhm.
that I thought the recreation of that set in the soundstage, and I'm a big Regis fan, obviously.
Mhm.
Um, but it was so cool to see that set recreated
Yeah.
and I mean, just like American Idol, it kind of just missed its peak popularity when it got
Yeah.
introduced. So that was unfortunate, but was so cool at the time. And seeing the Idol set was cool too. But Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was super cool to me. I guess if of all superstar television, monster sound show,
Mhm.
anything like that. I mean, we would put the Osborne lights
Yeah.
at Christmas
Yes.
at two,
Mhm.
if we're counting that, if we're allowing that.
Yeah, for sure. Um, all right. Ryan had asked, what would you add to hashtag always MGM if you were head of Imagineering?
Now I don't know. You better think of an answer too. Um, now I don't know. But a couple of weeks ago, we joked about lights, motor, action, and how I
Mm,
never saw it.
uh-huh.
And and obviously we were both like, "Well, you take it away the back lot,
Uh-huh.
even though it's
Yeah.
an immense amount of real estate." But at the time when, similarly to what we were just saying, when the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise hit,
Mhm.
I felt like the thing to do would be to expand that world
Mm,
into a world based on the world of Captain Jack Sparrow.
mm,
And
mhm.
I thought that would be to have a huge pirates like land. Now we have Adventureland, but
Mhm.
but I don't know how, and like would have been able to differentiate enough. But I thought they were able to do it with Fantasmic. I thought maybe they could do a stunt show similarly with pirates. I thought
Mhm.
that would be really cool.
Yeah.
So that was something that franchise was, as much as they put Captain Jack on the ride, I still think they missed the boat, so to
Mhm.
speak, on really doing more than we ended up seeing. And and it's a pandemic related thing, and I get it, but as I'm watching Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling commercials here for the
Mhm.
Fall Guy, Like, I'm like, do I want to see this movie? I think I do. But I really loved her and The Rock in the Jungle Cruise movie. So similarly,
Mm-hmm.
I wish at the time that things weren't what they were, and somehow we could get an expansion of that movie into the parks as well, even though that's not a hashtag always MGM related thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I have an answer currently, but there was a time where I was like, how are they not doing a Pirates thing in the parks? I don't understand. In the studios, I don't understand.
I'm surprised by your answer because normally you talk about a big Indiana Jones area. And that's usually your go-to. You have a whole plan for that.
They're too busy talking about that for Animal Kingdom, which is also fine. But I mean, and I think similarly, Muppets moving over to the opposite side of the park and being a part of Rock and Roller Coaster, or it can be a Tower of Terror overlay at the holidays, or whatever. I feel like that is something that I would do. I'm not enough of a Marvel guy to know which Marvel properties are in play to put over in the studios. I don't know enough about that. So.
Yeah. Well, one day I might watch those movies. It's almost Christmas. So Hallmark season's just around the corner. So I don't know if I have time, but we'll see. It's so hard. I wonder why my children were very big on wanting to do the same thing in Legoland this time around, because I'm sitting here going, if I was Imagineering for #AlwaysMGM, I say bring it all back. Bring it back to the park in its original form, and keep Toy Story Land, keep Galaxy's Edge. But like the working studio part, I just feel like, especially now, they could do so much more with that and bring guests into that world so much more. And there's been so many advances and all of the things that some sort of working studio would be really cool. I'm sure there's a million reasons on why it would not be cool for them, but for us, I think it would. I mean, I would love to see a little more of an expansion of Pixar, because they have Toy Story Land, obviously, but they have like this Pixar place, and it's like, do more, do something, but make this into something bigger. If you're going for it, go in for it. That would be cool too. But yeah, I mean, for me, I'm like holding on to that nostalgia of all the things that were, and including the great movie, right? Just bring it all back. Bring it all.
Yeah. I mean, and I guess my other thing would be whether you could put a great movie ride reboot, so to speak, in, plow down the launch bay, rebuild the structure that's the size. I mean, it would be tough of the great movie ride. And if you're like, oh, I'm not gonna do, we don't want to do classic movies, would you consider doing Pixar movies? Would you consider doing, Muppets theme Muppets doing classic movies? And again, the idea of how do we transition out of, that's how I see that animation courtyard area is. There's got to be some kind of smooth transition happening there. I feel like, again, that's real estate waiting to be taken advantage of.
Yeah, well, that's so funny as you're like saying that. That's the part of the park that's in my head right now. I did see Lewis said I don't think they could ever bring it back as an actual working studio, but they could easily make a ride where everyone on the ride becomes part of a movie and you get a photo pass of the movie. I think, and as he said that, immediately I went to that whole launch bay area in my head.
Yeah,
and I do think that they could take that area over as some sort of movie something, just the movie area of the park, and have it be, you have Brown Derby right there, and you go around the corner and you're like still in this old Hollywood feel, and just kind of create that mini world over there. But I know that it's hard to transition to all the different lands, but I don't know.
Yeah, and Lewis is referencing, the name change over at Disneyland Paris for the Studios Park. I can't with the adventure over. I don't want to keep the adventure over in Paris, because we got Islands of Adventure over at Universal. Just leave it alone. Don't put adventure near hashtag always MGM, please.
Also, I do want more Muppets. I don't know about Tower of Terror. I see Lexi said I want a Muppets Tower of Terror movie. All right, but I also I do want more Muppets everywhere, but I don't know.
One, 2 steps forward, 1 step back with the Muppets
Mhm.
all the time. And I'm not saying like permanently change Tower of Terror to the Muppets.
Mhm.
Let's make that clear. I'm saying, seasonally,
Yeah.
let's bring the Muppets into play.
Ryan said it would be cool to put the guest into a movie scene. You get to be Jack Sparrow or Mary Poppins, which is a lot like what
Yeah.
Superstar Television was for television shows. But yeah,
Yeah.
you could recreate that into more of a movie thing and have that be like the attraction over in that area.
Lewis is referencing California Adventure here. It's in California, Lewis. It's not 20 minutes down the road on Kirkman, Islands of Adventure. Keep adventure out of the studio's name in Florida. The end.
Just change it back to hashtag. Just name it hashtag always MGM at this point. How is that not gotten back to someone's desk at Disney? This is what we want it to be called.
It's very, very frustrating. But I think it's a great question, and I mean, there was those times during the Sorcerer Hat years and things like that
Mhm.
were frustrating and caused a lot of how people are feeling even still to this day. I think
Mhm.
sometimes I wonder if Walcott will have long lasting effects like the Sorcerer's Hat years did.
Yeah.
Not blaming the Sorcerer's Hat entirely and blaming all the areas that were being built while there was unknown feelings about the theming of that
Mhm.
park.
Yeah.
Hashtag always Hollywood Studios. Lexi, what are
No.
you doing?
Lexi, no one would say that. Even if they changed the name again. No one's saying that hashtag always Hollywood suit. No one would say that. Still hashtag always MGM. Yeah. All right. Besides Lewis, no one else would do that.
But that is, I think I really wanted to focus on like its place in history. I think from a company perspective, I don't think it gets enough credit sometimes. And it will get breezed over. It's not as sexy or romantic as the Epcot story, I don't think, or as tumultuous as the Disneyland Paris story. Hashtag Euro Disney. But I think it's it speaks a lot to a transition. It really marks time into what came after, and I obviously don't want to like sit here and go, and you must credit hashtag always MGM for this. No,
Yeah.
I'm not. But it's interesting that it sits there for a time. I saw that Theme Park Rob asked if the all new Mickey Mouse Club was a spark. I don't know if that was a spark for us loving the park, or again, it was like everything fell into place at the
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
time. And that was definitely a part of it. That idea of it definitely made it more appealing to us. But I think we didn't go the first time, which was December '89, and we're like, what? The Mickey Mouse Club's not filming? Forget it. Let's go over to the Magic Kingdom. We weren't like that.
Yeah.
So it was clear that the park was more
Yeah.
than just this is where the all new Mickey Mouse Club filmed.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
I see the questions are winding down here in the if now is the time, now is the best time to get in any final questions you may have regarding hashtag always MGM. But I will say tomorrow if you're here at the live stream, but yesterday over if you're listening to the audio, I did a thing. I think I've done this thing once before. I don't know if I talked about it on the podcast before, but Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS this time of year does something called the Stripathon. Now I'm not stripping, but I feel the need to shed some pounds, shed some weight, shed some things. So Lenny Burrows will be partaking. So we will be providing that information in all our places. No donation is too small, But I know people have been clamoring for more Peloton experiences with me. So I want to amp those up and have a reason to amp them up a little bit more. So getting the ball rolling for those of you at DillosDizResort.com, you know that I've had a couple of Lenny Burrows study hall sessions. And the Lenny is a God show is a couple of months away. So we'll do another study hall soon at the resort to give you the updates about the show. The 8-year-old and I were working on it yesterday. So there is that, but I figured why not get my mindset into that by partaking in a fundraiser, so to speak, and not asking for the moon here, but asking for a little support as I try to strip away some pounds and get into some shape.
And is this why you'll be on the talk more?
This is why I'll be on the top.
Yes.
More, I gotta try to connect all the things.
Nice.
And do parodies of inappropriate videos I see because they think I'm a middle-aged man, and I am, but they like to change my algorithm up to see, what are you really watching? What do you really want to see here on TikTok?
Yeah.
Baby.
Well, yeah, that's very exciting.
Welcome to it. Yeah. So there is that. So a lot of big news here today. We got Dillos Madness updates happening next week at DillosDizResort.com. We got my upcoming trip. We've got the meetup happening in September, which where's that halfway to Halloween announcement? Universal has scared Disney a little bit. And we're like, what? Universal, you're doing too many announcements. We cannot do halfway to Halloween during this time.
Yeah.
Can't. Yes, as Jeffers mentions, hashtag Oswego 2024, which is happening the weekend of August 10th and 11th. So I'll be up at the Sterling Renaissance there. So many things that we're trying to juggle and spin all the plates as soon as Frank gets past like this next life event right here for the family. Not my own personal life, but a family event. I'll call it a family event.
Still positive, everyone. A positive life event.
Keeping it positive. But for those of you here on the YouTubes or the X or the Facebooks, like the thing right now, give the video a like, the live stream a like. Don't forget to download and just listen to the podcast for a little bit. Just a little bit. We're enjoying doing the thing here, but we want with the podcast. So make sure you check that out. Thank you if you're listening to the audio version right now. I know Ryan Oswego 2024 and D23 happening at the same time. Listen, things like when we plan things, there's always counter programming. Let's just say when we announce dates for something, counter programming takes place. So, Jeffers, thanks for the update. Likely the Islanders aren't going to make it here to the second round here, but maybe I'll be proved wrong. And by the time you listen to this audio on Thursday morning, which you will do because you love us so much. Again, have a great night. Thanks for checking us out. Until next time, she's Jen and I'm Frank. Bye-bye.
Deuces.